Page 16, America. 3/4 time. Let's point out a few little things that may throw you. Now this is such a common melody, you probably just know the melody already. Now let's just double check, because sometimes in these arrangements they throw you a curve. And even though it's an arrangement and you can rearrange it, before you do any of that, you need to learn it exactly the way it's written. You see, if you're going to change something, you need to know that you changed it. It's not like, well, you changed it and didn't realize it. That's not a change, that's a mistake. That's an error. If you change it on purpose, that's a change. That's improvising. That's rearranging, if you will. And on this kind of music, that's okay. You can rearrange this all you want. But we're going to play it the way it's written first. In the right hand, you're starting second finger. 3/4 times, so we're going to count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Second measure is that dotted rhythm. 1 and 2 and 3. So the F comes on the and of 2 and 2. They don't give you any fingering in here. Well, if you start on second finger here, you're in this position. So when you get to the last measure, you're here. Fourth finger, little finger on the B flat. That's okay if you can do that. Second line, dotted rhythm. 1 and 2 and 3. Then the last measure of the second line, the left hand gets the melody. I'll come back to that in a minute. And the last line's the tricky one, and we'll come back to that in a minute. Now the right hand does move a little bit at the end, because you're here throughout the piece pretty much, and at the end they want it here. That's unnecessary. All you got to do is leave your hand here and move the thumb down. You use third finger. It's 1, 3 is fine. You don't have to move that, so it's... That's fine. It works. I prefer that than what they're saying. Let's talk left hand here. At the beginning, you start third finger. And this is harmony, so keep this soft. We want to hear the right hand. It's the same rhythm the right hand was doing. Last measure, you have to cross over the thumb to get the D. Leave the thumb on the C. You're just crossing over for one note. You got B flats in here, in case you didn't notice. Second line, going from the second measure to the third measure. You're here to here. That can be tricky for a lot of people. If you're not having a problem with it, good for you. If you are having a problem with it, you're the majority of us. What I do here is it gets back to going from one note to 2 notes. It's a technique I explained earlier. I use a weight distribution when I play, so I'm actually using the weight of the hand and the arm to push the keys down. I'm not using finger muscles. So whichever finger happens to be the low finger at the time is the finger that pushes the note down, but the finger itself isn't doing it, it's the weight that's doing it. I'm almost pulling the note down. So on the last note, on the second measure, it's here. I've lowered it, and you can see a little bit of the wrist lowering it. Well, when I go to play this last chord, or the next chord, the measure next one, I'm going to raise the wrist and lower it again, and as I lower it, the fourth finger comes up and the other fingers go down. Like so. And it takes a little bit of practice to get it, but if you'll just work on that a little bit, it will come. It's a lot easier than trying to do it with the fingers. You get it at the end of the piece too, the same thing. Okay. Then the left hand gets the melody starting with the last measure of the second line. So now you play the left hand as loud as you were playing the right hand before. So whatever this is, then the left hand has to be the same. Now, let's talk about this last line down here, this ugly looking thing. It's all melody, except for the last measure. It's okay. Rhythm. There's an error in the music here. Look at the first measure of the last line. If you count up the number of beats in the measure, you get 4. This is a 3/4 time. You cannot have 4 beats in a measure in 3/4 time unless you do something special. There's nothing special here. It's just notes. So either we got to leave a note out, or we got to temporarily change the time signature to 4/4 time for one measure. Either one works. I could leave out the last note in the measure, the F, and just play 1 and 2 and 3. That's fine. Or I can change the time signature at the beginning of that measure to 4/4 and just put in a little 4/4 at the beginning of the measure, and I get 4 beats. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. And then at the beginning of the next measure, I got to put in another time signature of 3/4. I got to change it back to 3/4. And this happens in music a lot. Time signatures can change at any measure, any time, any number of times to anything. It just gets really interesting sometimes. So either we do that, change the time signature, or we leave out the F. And I'm going to vote for change the time signature because it's more fun. So the first measure of that line is going to have 4 counts in it. So it's going to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then back to 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and then in the next measure, it looks ugly. It's not. It's just the 2 eighth notes are shared between the 2 stabs, and this is how they beam them together. So it's 1 and 2. And if you're curious, the melody is actually the bottom note in the left hand. Now that's hard to do. Can you bring out that note, not the other? The idea is put more weight on that finger. As you're coming down, most of the weight is on that finger and you keep everything else light. Problem is getting them all down at the same time. Between you, me, and the fence post, I'm saying don't worry about it, just play it. So let's try this out slowly to check all this stuff. Now you look at this page and think, well, this is a piece of cake. We'll just whip through this real quick. And not so fast, because when you really get to looking at everything it has to offer, there's a lot to it. And as I said before, once you've learned it the way it's written, then if you want to change it, you can, like taking out that one note in that last line. Now, again, so you understand what's going on in the music, I think I've explained this in another video. I'll say it here too. Last line, first measure. The words, you see the from every, and then there's a line after every. That's telling the singers to hold that sound out. That line means hold it. So they're going to sing every here and here on both notes. Type thing. That's what that line means. Keep singing. I'm going to give us 3 counts. Let's try this out slowly together and see if we can do this. You are starting here and here. Okay. 1, ready, go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2, 3. 2 and 3 and 2, 3 off.